Hello everyone, InfoSec Pandey here, and welcome back to the channel. So, in cybersecurity, memorizing definitions won't make you a good analyst. Real SOC work is about thinking through live attacks and connecting the dots. So, in this video, I'm covering 25 SOC L2 interview questions with practical scenarios so you can actually understand how investigations work in real world. And if you're serious about leveling up your skills, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment with your questions or the topic you want next. All right, let's go. So we have question number 1. What is the main difference between SOC L2 and SOC L1? So SOC L1 focus on alert triage, basic log review and escalation. They handle high volume of alerts, and also they quickly make decision on the alert whether it is a false positive or true positive, any escalation needed, etc. Then also we have L2 analyst. So they dive deeper into escalated incidents from L1 team, and they perform root cause analysis, they create playbooks and work on threat hunting part. So basically they are the investigators. So most people think SOC L2 is just a promotion, but actually it is a completely different mindset. So let's simplify this with a real world analogy. So I'm going to create a diagram here. This is L1 and this is L2. All right, so SOC L1 is like a security guard. They are the guard at gate, and they are going to check everything quickly. So they are going to check the alert. So when any alert trigger, they are going to quickly decide whether it's a dangerous, yes or no, whether it's a dangerous or it's a normal traffic. But the SOC L2, they are the detectives. So if any alert trigger, SOC L1 going to filter the alert, then going to escalate it, escalate to L2, and then L2 is going to perform the deep investigation. Deep investigation. So let's zoom it a little bit. So when any alert trigger, suppose this is the alert which is triggering. So L2 check all the logs by connecting the dot, writing the query like KQL or SPL, and also they check the timeline of the attack or alert. Then also they work on the RCA part, the root cause analysis part, and then they decide the complete attacker story. So I will give you a practical example here. So let's say L1 sees multiple failed login alert. So what they will do, they are quickly going to check whether it's a suspicious, yes or no. If it is suspicious, then they are going to escalate to L2. And what L2 will do, so L2 is going to check the IP reputation. So IP reputation, then they are going to correlate the various logs, correlate various log like VPN log, authentication log, Windows log. They are going to correlate everything. Then they are going to check whether the login succeed or not. Then next they are going to look for the lateral movement. So here they are going to perform the threat hunting, lateral movement, because this is what the attacker do after getting the successful login or compromising the machine. So basically we can say L1 ask, is this bad? Is this bad? But L2, so they ask, how did this happen and what next? How happened and next? So they are going to dig deeper and provide the more details. So interview tips. This shows you understanding both role and explain why L2 require deeper technical skills and patience for complex investigation. So this is the main difference between L1 and L2. Let me know if you have any question. All right. Next question we have, walk me through your incident response process for a suspected phishing attack. So imagine 50 employees just received a phishing email. So this is your organization where you have various employees here. So these are the 50 employees and they received a phishing email, phishing email, okay, with a phishing link. So they received a phishing email and 5 employees have clicked on it, already clicked. All right, now what? So here we have multiple steps that we need to follow to investigate the attack. So first we are going to detect it, then analyze, containment, eradication, recovery, and then post incident. All right, so we can start with the step number 1, which is detection part. So in the detection part, we are going to detect how the alert triggered, whether by email gateway or user reported it. So whether user reported or email gateway alert triggered. So next phase we have analysis, which is very important part. So we are going to check the email header, sender reputation, URL, sandbox result. So you don't just open the email, you are going to break it down by doing the header analysis. Header analysis. So header analysis will give you the complete understanding, IP, sender, recipient detail, and then authentication protocol like SPF, DKIM, DMARC. So we are going to check here whether it is pass or fail. So if it is fail, then it's a red flag. Then next we are going to check whether the sender is spoofed or impersonated. Then if any attachment or any URL available, so we are going to detonate. So where we will detonate? We will detonate it in a safe environment, which is called sandbox. So we will do the sandboxing for the attachment and URL for safe analysis. The next step we have, the third one, is containment. So in the containment section, we are going to quarantine the email if it is malicious or suspicious. So quarantine email and block the sender, block the URL, quarantine the attachment as well, and disable the compromise account, disable accounts. So in this case, 5 users have already clicked, right? So we can disable their account and do a password reset, force password reset. Then the next step we have the fourth one from here, eradication. So in the eradication, we are going to remove the phishing email from all the inbox, and then resetting the credential for all the user if needed, for all 50 users, password reset. And then the next phase is recovery phase. So in the recovery phase, we are going to monitor for this domain or looks like domain, and then post analysis. Post incident. So in post incident, we are going to document the finding, the step, what went well, what went wrong, and then we are going to update our policy and rule, and then we will have some lesson learned call with the team. These are the steps that we can follow: detection, analysis, and then containment and eradication, recovery phase, and then post incident phase. So most beginners stop at the block email. So if you are going to block the email, it is not going to affect the new user, but the user who already clicked is going to be harmed from there. So most beginners stop at the block email, but L2 analyst who think like attacker, they goes little beyond, they goes little further. So they check whether the attacker got access, and then the next phase like uh, eradication or containment or recovery. So they think in this way. All right, what is the difference between a true positive, false positive, and false negative? So true positive alert correctly identified a real security events. False positive alert fire but no real threat detected. So this is a waste of time. And then false negative. So actual threat occur but no alert fire. So this is the worst situation, guys. So let's visualize this attack here. So we can draw a table. This is alert. This is actual attack. Yes or no. We have drawn a grid here where we have the detail alerts, actual attack, yes or no. And all right, so let's explain it. So alert, yes, we received the alert and it is an actual attack. So this will be a true positive, and alert triggered. And if it is not actual attack, then it is a false positive. If alert not triggered and it is an actual attack, then it is a false negative. And if alert not triggered and it is not needed, not an actual attack, then it is a true negative. So we can say true positive is like a real attack detected. Real attack detected. And false positive means it's a noise that we can tune and we can reduce it. And false negative is like a attack missed. So this is very dangerous one and the worst situation. So let me give you a practical example here. Your ideas fire a port scan detected from your backup server. So that's a false positive. It is your own legitimate traffic. So detected, it has port scan detected. port scan detected, and this is your internal server, your backup server. So this is going to be a false positive. L2 job is not just detection. So L2 job is not equal to detection. Their job equal to tune the system and get the uh, noise out from the system. So no alert will be missed. So L2 focus on tuning the rules, reduce false positive without increasing the false negative. So this is their goal, and balance is crucial. So they document all the pattern that cause false positives. So that's the actual L2 job. All right. So the next question we have: how do you investigate a suspicious login alert? So suppose there is a user who logs in from India. So this is the user who logs in from India at 10 a.m. and then from Russia at 10:05 a.m. Russia 10:05 a.m. Is it possible? It's not possible. So the investigation mindset here is you don't jump on the conclusion, you build a context here. So let's gather the context. So whether it's an unusual IP geolocation, so we have user. So we have a user, and user is logging on the different countries with some IP addresses, and also we have location detail, and also we have time and behavior. So how they are logging, when they are logging, etc. So this is a kind of checklist that we need to follow. So we have user detail, we have IP addresses, we have location detail, Russia and India. We have time, 10 a.m. and 10:05 a.m. And also behavior, how they are logging. So usually they log in from India, but today logged in from Russia. So let's investigate the IP. So we can log in on the abuse IPDB, abuse IPDB. So it's a kind of database for IP addresses where you can check the IP reputation, whether it's a suspicious, malicious, how many time it is reported, what kind of behavior this IP have, whether it's involved in any exploitation or any malicious activity. So we will get all the details. And then uh, unusual IP geolocation. So location unusual. So suppose your companies have offices in India, US, Australia, not in Russia, but you are seeing login from Russia, right? So this is unusual. And then the device detail. So device fingerprint match like OS, browser, hardware. So like whether it's a new browser, new agent, or new OS. So we will get all those details. We will do the fingerprinting for the IP. Then going to check whether any VPN or proxy detected. So that we can identify by checking the IP and the connection detail. So it's a Tor IP or VPN IP, we can easily identify. Then also we are going to check whether it's a success or failed. So if it is success, then what happened after the login? So if success, what next? Whether it is accessing any file, accessing any file or email sent, email sent out, any privilege changed. Privilege changing means they are changing the permission, getting more closer access to the crown jewel. And then if you identify everything true here, then what action you can take? If we found all the behavior risky, we can trigger MFA challenge or block login. So block the login, do the password reset, and then review post login activities like files, file access, mail sent, etc. Right? So login alert is just a beginning. The real story is post login activity. So if you see login success, so that's a beginning. So you need to go little deep, little beyond for post login investigations. All right, let me know if you have any question. All right, question number 5. What is MITRE attack and why do SOC analysts care about it? So top SOC analysts don't just see alerts, they see the attacker's next move. So MITRE attack is basically a playbook for hackers and defenders. So MITRE attack is a playbook for hackers and defenders. All right, so MITRE attack is a framework that catalog the adversary tactic, technique, and procedure. That's called TTPs, based on the real world observations. So there is an attack chain in the MITRE attack. So let's draw it. Recon. So attacker do the reconnaissance. Then they go for the initial access. So how they do the recon? They do the scanning, OSINT, etc. And then initial access. So initial access by email, drive-by compromise, also tailgating, etc. And then execution. So they execute their tools, their script, etc. Then persistence, then lateral movement, and then exfiltration, data exfiltration. All right, so this is a attack chain, and why it matter for L2? L2 analyst can map detected activities to a tactic, like whether it's a reconnaissance, it's a execution, or persistence. Then they can predict the next step in the attack chain. So suppose attacker have done the initial access, so next he will do or they will do the execution and then persistence, then they do the lateral movement, then data exfiltration. So this like predict the next step in the attacker chain, and also this can be helpful in building better detection rule aligned with the known attack patterns. And also you can communicate your finding to the stakeholder using standardized language. So you can map all your finding with the TTPs, technique ID, procedures, etc. Analysts who do not have access, they ignore the MITRE attack, but the analysts who have the real understanding of the SOC analyst and MITRE attack, they map it everything. So for example, if the scheduled task creation is detected, so if scheduled task creation alert is detected, L2 is going to map it with T1053 ID. So it is a MITRE technique ID, and then they are going to check for the persistence indicator. So after seeing this ID, you can think now what executed it, what executed, and is attacker maintaining access. MITRE attack help you predict if attacker did this, what will he do or they do the next. So attacker did this, what they will do next. So this is what the MITRE's use case. All right, if you have any questions related to MITRE attack, or you want me to create a detailed MITRE attack crash course video, just drop your thought in the comment box. All right, next question we have. How would you handle a spike in failed login attempts? So suppose there is 1,000 login attempt in just 2 hours. So this is a sign of brute force attack or just a broken script. So whether it's a brute force or a broken script. So this is what we are going to investigate. So don't panic. First, understand the pattern and investigate the pattern. So is this targeting one user or many user? What is the source IP? Whether the same source IP or distributed IPs? What is the timing? Whether it's a rapid fire or spread over hours? Which services? Whether it's a VPN service, RDP, AD, email? Which service targeted? So single user. So if it is a single user, then definitely it's a brute force. It's a confirmed brute force attack. If it is a multiple user, then it's a credential stuffing. And if the IP is single IP, then it's a targeted attack. It's a targeted attack. And if it is a multiple IP, then it's a distributed attack. Distributed attack. So we have all these details, and uh, the practical thing is, if you see uh, like thousand failed RDP login, same IP, same IP. Suppose it is from China or Russia, and target is admin. Then this is a classic brute force attack example. This is a classic brute force attack, guys. Next, we have the response options. So what response you can take? So if it is a brute force, then we can do the rate limit login attempt. So we can rate limit like 50, 100, 20, etc. Then reset user passwords, and then block the source IP. Block the source IP. And if it is a credential stuffing, then check if password in known breach databases. So this will help you to mitigate the attack. You can verify whether previously compromised passwords are now being used. And then normal spike. So maybe a few employees onboarding on AD synchronization issue. So block the IP immediately if you see any attack. Block the IP and then disable the user account. Disable user account or do the reset of the password, and then check, did any login succeed, any lateral movement happening or not. So this is what you can check. So even if a single IP succeed, you need to initiate the incident response. All right, what is a SIEM and how does it do? So SIEM equal to security information and event management. So a SIEM is not just a tool, it is a brain of your SOC. So it is a brain of your SOC. So suppose here is a firewall device, firewall appliance, and also you have server, you have endpoints, you have cloud logs, etc. So it is very difficult to go on each machine and check the logs line by line, right? So this is your server, this is endpoint, and this is your cloud. So we are going to deploy some kind of agent or uh, API access or some mechanism we are going to use to collect log directly from this system, and then going to save it in a tool called SIEM, SIEM server. And then from the UI we can do the query, we can do the threat hunting, alerting, etc. And also we can do the correlation of the logs. So this is why the SIEM are very important. So the core function of SIEM are collection, parsing, correlation, alerting, and retention. Collection, so they collect data from various data sources like firewall, server, app, endpoints, etc. Then normalization, so parsing the data, cleaning the data happen in the normalization phase. Then correlation part, correlation. So SIEM have inbuilt correlation engine which can correlate the log from various data systems. And then data retention. So if you want to retain your data for 5 year, retain the data for 5 year, 7 year, 11 year. You can do all the retention, or 1 year here. So you can retain your data for a long time. So parsing like extract meaningful field from the unstructured data source. Correlation is like a linking event across sources to detect the pattern. Alerting is like triggering alarm based on the rules and anomalies. Retention like storing log for compliance and investigation perspectives. So the practical example is like a single event triggers, single event for failed login trigger. So this is not very important, right? It's a single failed login. But your SIEM have ability to see 10 login failure in 5 minutes, and then one success, then a privilege escalation. So SIEM have ability to correlate all the logs and see all these events. And then it is going to trigger an alert when it is seeing any anomalies like this. So there are some popular SIEM tools available. So Splunk is a boss of SIEM. It is available in on-prem and also in like hybrid mode and in cloud mode. Then ELK stack, so it's an open source. Then ArcSight, QRadar, Grey Noise, and there is another emerging tool called Sentinel. So it's a Microsoft Sentinel, and also Google Chronicle, which is currently known as SecOps, Google SecOps. So while giving the interview, you can mention experience with your organization SIEM. So this shows you understand search syntax like SPL for Splunk, KQL for Sentinel, etc. And SIEM doesn't just collect log; it connect the dots. So the point you can mention. All right. All right. So the next question we have, explain the NIST incident response life cycle. So NIST define four phases, and most SOC analysts jump straight to fixing, but the real pros follow a life cycle. So it's a life cycle actually. NIST is a life cycle, and they have four phases. So number one is preparation. Number two is detection and analysis. Number three, contain, eradicate, and recover. And the number four we have lesson learned. So these are the four phases we have. So in the preparation phase, we are going to build the tool, train the team, establish incident response plan process, and then configure the login. So build the tool means we are going to deploy and build the SIEM rules, do all the integration for the data sources, integration and dashboard creation, XDR setup, XDR integration with SIEM tool, and then we are going to create SOPs, plan, metrics, escalation path, etc. And then configure the login. So we are going to do the login for all the systems directly to integrate with SIEM. Second phase, we have detection and analysis. So in the detection and analysis phase, we are going to monitor the threat, investigate the alerts, and then determine severity and scope for the alert. And then next phase we have containment and eradication and recovery. So in the containment, we are going to stop the spread. So we are going to stop the bleeding, short-term containment, long-term containment, and remove the threat. Like first we will isolate the device, reset the password, disconnect the machine from internet, etc. Then remove the threat. So we are going to clean up the infected machines and re-imaging the systems and deleting the malicious file, then restoring the system. Then we have post event activities. So we are going to conduct lesson learned, improve process, and then update defenses. So these are the four process we are going to follow. So from high level we can say, first we are going to prepare for the attack, prepare, and then detect the attack, and then contain the attack, and then recover from it. So these are the four technical and operational process we are going to follow. So this is called a NIST framework, right? So let me give you one example for the phishing attack. So suppose there is a phishing attack going on. So how you are going to detect it? So in the detection phase, we are going to get it from the email logs, or user reported the email to security team. So we have two source. So detection is complete here. And then containment. So how you are going to contain it? So in the containment phase, we are going to block the domain, remove the attachment, pull the email from the user's mailbox, etc. And then eradication. So in eradication, we are going to remove the email. And then we have recovery. So in the recovery phase, we are going to secure the account by resetting the password or enforcing MFA, etc. And then after this, we can follow the post incident review. So like detecting, like updating the detection rule, creating a hard policy, etc. So L2 analysts are happy in phase 2 and phase 3. So this shows understanding of each phase goals, right? And the most companies fail in the last step. If you don't learn, attack will repeat. So you need to do the post analysis, uh, investigation, or lesson learned. All right, next question we have: what is difference between EDR, the endpoint detection and response, and antivirus? So antivirus is like signature based detection. So antivirus is based on signatures, and this looks for known malware patterns. So this looks only for the known threat, and they have simple prevention techniques. So either they are going to block the attack or remove the threat, but limited visibility into endpoint behavior. That's why we have EDR. So EDR have the behavioral monitoring plus threat intelligence. So this is a mix of signature based and behavior based detection, and it is going to detect the unknown or 0 day threats via anomaly detection, because they detect all the behaviors, right? And they have very rich telemetry, like process trees, network connections, file modifications, etc., and also the response capabilities. So using the EDR console, you can isolate the endpoint, you can collect the forensic package, even you can run the AB scan, and also kill the process. Like here, AB is going to scan the file scan, and if it is matching with the signature, then it is going to block it. But the EDR, endpoint detection and response, so EDR going to check everything: process, your uh, file, network, and then based on that it is going to create a timeline. Suppose there is a malware which is running on the machine, antivirus is going to block the malware file, which is file.exe or something. But the EDR going to check the file.exe, whether it is a spawn run command, or running the PowerShell, or connected to IP, or created persistence. So this the XDR is going to get all the details and create a timeline. So the real advantage: EDR shows you how an attack happened, not just what it was blocked. So this is going to give you the complete attack story, and which is everything for L2 analyst, right? Next question we have: how do you perform log analysis for a Windows security events? So if you don't understand Windows log, you are blind in most investigations. So you can focus on these key event IDs, like 4624 for successful login, 4625 for failed login, 4688 process created, 4689 process terminated, 4722 account enabled, 4728 member added to admin groups. So these are the key event ID you can focus. And there is a scenario: suppose any suspicious activity reported. Suspicious activity reported. So what you are going to check? So you are going to check the 4624, whether the login happened or not. Then you are going to check 4688. So 4688 going to give you details like PowerShell executed, or any command executed, or any new process started. So this is going to give you all those details. So you can map it like 4624, 4688, and then you have all the story. So investigation steps are like filter for the event ID in SIEM. So this is what we have done. And then check the timestamp, user detail, and source computer, and then cross reference with other events like 4624 before 4688. So we will have computer detail, user detail, and all the process detail. and then look for the suspicious process, like whether the command ran and PowerShell with the obfuscation ran. So this is how we can create a document chain of events. Single log is always useless, but the timeline and the correlation log is everything. All right, next question we have: what is the difference between indicator of compromise, the IOCs, and indicator of attack? So, most analysts chase known threats, but the real attackers don't reuse the same tricks, right? So, there are two ways to detect attack: one is IOC based, and one is IOA based, indicator of attack, indicator of compromise. So, indicator of compromise is like evidence of your compromise. So, this you will get after attack, because it's an indicator of compromise. So, compromise is already happened, compromised. But the indicator of attack is the behavior of the attack, right? So, this happened during attack. So, now think which is important, whether the IOC important or IOA important. So I would say both are important. So IOC is going to give you known information, like has used in the attack, IP used, or domain used, and IOA is going to give you the behavior, how the attacker is going to behave on the attack or behaving on the attack. So this will give you hint what attacker is doing. So IOC's evidence that breach has happened. It's a reactive way, like malware has known IOC, IP address, phishing URL, etc. And then IOA. So it's a evidence of attack behavior, even if it is a new or unknown malware, and it's a proactive way of detection. So like unusual process spawning command line exe, heavy encrypted traffic at the odd hour, or the credential dumping patterns. So practical examples, like in case one, you are going to block a known malicious IP, and that's the IOC. So it's IOC based blocking. And in case two, you detected PowerShell spawning from word PowerShell, which is connecting to a known IP. So this is behavior based detection. So remember this: IOC is reactive and IOA is proactive. So L2 analysts focus more on IOA because attackers constantly change the IOC, right? And both matters. So your IDS block a URL on known facing list, which is case number one, and later you detect weakening an unknown IP, which is case number two. So both matters. All right, next question we have: describe a time you reduced false positive in your detection rule. So here is the situation: our SIEM was firing 200 alert daily on suspicious process creation. Nearly all were false positive, like running the IT script, maintenance task, etc. So uh, imagine getting 200 alert daily and uh, 200 alert daily and 180 alerts are useless. So this is the SOC reality. So what you are going to do, the action you can tell you have taken. So I analyzed the trend, identified common legitimate process, then added exclusion and tuned the threshold. So the result will be reduced alert 80% and improved team morale, freed time for real threats. So alerts are always painful. Alert equal to suspicious process. But it triggers on like IT script, backup tool, as you have mentioned in the scenario, and some automation job. So we can say alert trigger, and then we can analyze the pattern, then identify the noise, identify the noise, then we can tune it, right? Then tune it. So these are the technique that we can mention. So baseline analysis, what is normal, what is abnormal, then whitelisting trusted binary and services, threshold tuning, alert on every 10 login, not one login, because one login is normal, right? And then correlation rule, only alert if multiple events plus context. So this is the practical approach. And instead of alert on one event, you can alert when the process plus external connection plus admin user. So this is the correlation rule and context based detection. So goal is not zero alert, goal is meaningful alert, right? All right. All right. Question 13. What is a 0 day exploit and how would you detect it? So a 0 day is a vulnerability to unknown to the vendor. So no patch exists yet. So that means the vulnerability occurred, but the no patch or no mitigation available yet. So attackers exploit it before a fix is released. What if attacker uses something no one has ever seen before? So 0 day equal to unknown vulnerability, unknown vulnerability, no signature, no patch. You can think like this. So suppose there is a known attack happening in the wild. So for the known attack, we have signature available and we can detect it, right? Signature going to be matched with the threat intel engine and our SIEM or XDR is going to detect it. But the 0 day, 0 day have no signature, no IOCs. They only use behavior. So it is hard to detect because your system is going to understand the behavior and then going to fire an alert. So this is the detection challenge. Signature based tools fail because they don't know the pattern, right? And you must rely on the behavior. And the detection approaches are, you can monitor the abnormal process behavior like crash pattern, unusual API calls. EDR tool detect suspicious post exploitation activities, network anomaly detection like unusual traffic, command and control traffic. Honeypot can raise, so you can place your decoys in the systems and catch attacks early. So this is a kind of honeypot you can deploy that looks like a real system, but these are the fake system to lure the attacker and get their behavior and IOCs. So 0 days are rare and uh, don't overclaim detection abilities, but so you understand the limit of traditional tools. So for example, you can give here, there is a word file, there is a word file, and there is a command, the spawns command happening, a spawn command happening, and it is downloading a payload. Download a payload. So even if the malware is unknown, we have something suspicious here. So we can dig deeper this behavior and uh, get some suspicious activities detail. So the tip is, you don't detect 0 day directly. You detect what it does after execution. So look for the pattern always. Don't ignore any event. All right, next question we have: how do you prioritize alerts when you have 100 plus in your queue? So this is very logical question. So you open your SIEM and 100 alerts are waiting. Where do you even start? So L2 does not go top to bottom, they prioritize smartly. So there are some prioritization factors. You can check for the severity, you can go for the critical one first, then high, then medium, then low. But not everything matches reality, right? Then you can look for the context. Is it targeting sensitive assets or admin accounts? Then known false positive rate. So you can rules with high false positive rates is like lower priority. Then time sensitivity. So active breach, then potential breach, then suspicious pattern. So you need to prioritize the active breach one first, and then potential breach second, and the final or last one is suspicious pattern. Then business hours, so alerts after hour often more suspicious, right? So you can prioritize your alert, the 100 plus alerts based on these factors. So critical assets are high priority, and then admin accounts are also high priority. Known false positive rules are low priority. So suppose you see 80 failed login, 80 failed login, and 15 suspicious process, and then 5 lateral movement. Where do you start? You can pause this video and comment in the comment section. Where do you start? You will start with the 80 failed login, or 15 suspicious process, or 5 lateral movement. So the answer is we will start from the 5 lateral movements. And why? Because lateral movement equal to attacker already inside. They are on one system, they are moving on the second one, third one, until they get the real crown jewel, the server access, right? So we will start from the lateral movement, then check for the suspicious process, then check for the failed login, because those are already failed. So no need to worry about it. We need to only look for the success login, right? So the real strategy is like group similar alert and check if they are related, dismiss obvious noise, escalate anything touching critical systems. The pro insights are like don't chase volume, chase the impact. Chase the impact, not volume. All right, next question we have: what is the difference between APT, malware, and ransomware? So all attacks are not equal. Some are loud, some are silent. So we will start with the malware. So malware is a general term, any malicious software. So it's a broad category. Any software designed to harm, included virus, worm, trojan called malware. So they are the malicious softwares. And then we have ransomware. So malware that encrypt the file and demand ransom. They demand the payment, and they have high financial impact, often deployed as a ransomware as a service, that's called RAAS groups. So their motto is like earning money by encrypting the file. And APTs. So APTs are very sophisticated long-term campaign by skilled threat actors. So they are often nation state sponsored or uh, army sponsored, and their goal is to steal data, maintain access, and spy. So they are very like highly trained. Like if you heard about the Mossad or US military or Indian raw agencies, so they are the military agencies. Similar, uh, the APT groups are like APT 28, APT 30, oil rig, Recently, Iranian threat actor Handala Group targeted on the US organization called Striker. So these kind of attack happens using APT. So APTs have like long-term access to the systems. They are stealthy. They are nation state sponsored, and the key differences are like APTs are very sophisticated, stealthy, and the ransomwares are smash and grab one, and malware is a delivery mechanism. So APT is the campaign. So ransomware equal to extortion, APT is equal to espionage and theft. So you can draw like this. So malware is a malicious tool. Ransomware is they always target on the money, and APT are the like strategic campaign. So ransomware are very loud, they immediate impact, and they ask for the money. But the APT are very silent. They months inside the network without informing, and they often carry the data theft. So ransomware wants attention, but the APT avoid the attention. All right, question number 16. Talk about a ransomware incident. How would you respond? So suppose you're in a SIP and file suddenly renamed to .logged. So users are panicking. Oh, this is where the SOC L2 earns their salary. All right. So this is not an analysis time. This is action time, right? Because the files are already encrypted and logged. So what we will do, we will do the detection part, detect, isolate, investigate, recover, and then root cause. So you see files are encrypted, strange extensions like .logged, high CPU uses. So what you are going to do? So if you detect active encryptions, you can isolate immediately. So like disconnecting the affected system from network, or physically if needed, then preserve the evidence. So you can uh, capture the memory dump, keep systems running if safe, and you can check for the scope here. So scoping, and then how many systems, which files here, check the backup system, etc. in the scoping part, and then alert stakeholder like CEO, legal, law enforcement like FBI. You can inform them, and backup checkup. So you can check the backup whether the backups are healthy, are the backup encrypted too. Check the offline backups, and then restore from clean backup only. You can restore the systems and verify if they are clean first. And then root cause, how did attacker get in, whether using RDP, phishing, VPN, etc. So these are the critical checks. Like, is backup also encrypted? Is the critical check. Backup encrypted. Then what is the entry point? What is the entry point? So what is the biggest mistake? So the biggest mistake is like delaying the isolation. So if you're not isolate, uh, the attack or the infection is going to infect other machine or going to spread. So if you delay it for 5 minutes, it may encrypt the entire network. So there is an incident like finance shared drive encrypted, user reported files, the .log extension. So the action you can take, you can isolate the file server, check for the backup, involve the law enforcement, and track how attacker entered in the machine. So this is how we can deal with the ransomware attack. Question number 17. What is threat hunting and how do you do it? So good analysts wait for the alerts, but the great analysts hunt attackers before alerts even exist. So what is threat hunting? Threat hunting is proactive. So it's a proactive investigation. So threat hunting equal to proactive search for the adversaries hiding in your network. So you hunt, not wait for the alert. And what is the process? So process is like hypothesis. So attackers using this MITRE tactic in our environment. So you're going to identify the TTPs and searching part. So you're going to query the logs for behavior indicator like usual process chain, lateral movement pattern, etc. And then you are going to analyze the whole finding uh, in context and correlation, and then escalate or pivot. So if found threat, you can escalate it. Otherwise, hunt for the new hypothesis. So here is the process that we can create: hypothesis, and then search, and then analyze, and then confirm or reject. So here are some example hunts. So like these are the hypotheses. Hypothesis: search for the PowerShell execution with obfuscation flag. So may use PowerShell. Attackers may use PowerShell and find credential dumping using mimic ads pattern, and detect for the lateral movement using SMB traffic to unusual host. So you can look for the encoded command here in the PowerShell usual parent process. For example, if you see there is a word file which is connecting to .ps, the PowerShell, with an external IP address. So this is a complete suspicious chain, right? This is a suspicious chain. So threat hunting is highly valuable for L2 or L3 roles. So this shows your curiosity and methodology. So hunting is not random; it is a hypothesis driven. All right. Next question we have: how do you write an effective incident report? So the answer is report must be clear to both technical teams and executives. So if your report is bad, even a good investigation looks useless. So you are going to write your report for two audience. One is technical team, technical team, and the second is for management. So what you are going to include? You are going to include the summary, then timeline, then the technical detail, then the root cause part, the RCA part, and then how to fix it. So here is the structure: executive summary, what happened, what is the impact, what is the resolution in 2 3 sentences. So in the report, first we will write the executive summary, and then timeline: when did each event occur? So be precise, write the time. And then the technical detail: what IOCs you found, you build a timeline here. Affected systems, what logs are helpful, MITRE mapping, TTPs, etc. And then finding: what was the threat, whether it's a confirm or dismissed. Then root cause analysis: how did the attacker get in, so right for the initial access. detail here, and then the remediation part. So what did we do to fix it, and then recommendation. So prevent next time, whether we are going to patch it, rule change, or training. So this is a lesson learned. So a bad report is like a suspicious activity detected, and the good is like a RDP brute force attempt on production DB1 from this IP, which is from China, at time detail with 1200 failed login in 1 hour, and then we mitigated it in rate limiting bypass or reset. So the same thing you can write in your alert investigation also. Alert investigation. So it is not only the report that you are going to write like this, you can include these detail in the alert investigation ticket as well. So if management doesn't understand it, your work has no impact, right? So write a report that management can understand, and you will get the appreciation. So next one we have, what is a security baseline and why does it matter? So you cannot detect abnormal if you don't know what is normal looks like, right? So you need to understand the normal thing. What is normal in your organization? So baseline equal to normal behavior. So baseline is what normal look like in your environment. And some examples are like login time, your network traffic. So suppose your office in India and login time is 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. and network traffic. So you have office only in India. So you're expecting traffic from India only. And then applications. So what applications you're running? Like you're running Teams, Office Suite, and some cloud services like Azure. So these are your baseline, right? So what happens? Normal behavior. So normal behavior is baseline. So if you see any deviation, alert it. So normal traffic pattern like bandwidth, protocol, destination, typical user login pattern like time, location, devices, expected process like what normally runs on the server, and user behavior like file access pattern, app uses and all. So this is a baseline example and why it matter. So baseline matter to detect anomalies. So if deviation from the baseline, alert it. And this also going to reduce the false positive. So normal activity won't trigger uh, your rules, and understand environment deeply. So you will understand your environment's baseline, what is normal, what is abnormal, and this is going to strengthen the investigations. So a normal behavior like a user login in 9 a.m. from India, but you can alert it when the user login at 3 a.m. from Europe. So it's a kind of possible compromise. So your baseline is like finance users login 8 to 6 p.m. Wednesday, weekdays from office, alert on 2 a.m. login from China. So this is a compromise. Or alert on the 6:15 p.m. login, which is normal, and you can ignore it. So best detections come from deviations, not signatures, right? All right. So we have next question here. Tell me about a complex incident you investigated. So this question decide if you get hired or rejected. This is very important question, guys. So here we can use the star method. So star method is like situation, task, action, and result. So we can follow the star method. So we have a situation here. We detected unusual outbound HTTPS traffic from a finance system at odd hour, and the task we have, I was assigned to investigate whether it was a data exfiltration and what actions we can take. So capture network traffic like TLS decryption, so HTTP request, also checking the process like legitimate backup apps, but scheduled was wrong, and reviewed endpoints like no malware was found. Root cause analysis was like misconfiguration backup job, and the result. So this is a confirmed false positive and corrected, scheduled, improved monitoring and documented finding for team. So the situation here is like unusual outbound traffic, and the task is check for the data exfiltration, and the action is analyze log, check process, verified traffic, and the result is like found misconfigured backup job and fix the issues. So this question is going to test the depth, showing the curiosity, methodology, communication. So if you don't have a real story, be honest and describe how would you approach it. So they're testing your thinking process. They are not testing your knowledge, right? All right, question 21. What is the difference between symmetric and asymmetric encryption? So in this question, we are going to cover how does HTTPS actually secure your data, HTTP or S. So the symmetric encryption, they use the same key for encryption and decryption, and they're very fast and good for large data. And key distribution problem, because how you are going to share the key safely, right? And there are some example like AES and DES is the symmetric encryption, and asymmetric encryption. So they use the two key. One is public, the encrypted one, and the private, the decrypted one. They're a little slower, but good for authentication and small data. And there is no data key distribution problem because public key is public, right? And the examples are RSA and ECC. So symmetric encryption uses the same key. They are a little fast, but the asymmetric encryption uses two key, public plus private key. So suppose there is a client and there is a server. All right. So the handshake. This is the handshake. So this is handshake. So handshake is asymmetric because both have the keys, right? But here is another client which is doing the data transfer to the server, or server is doing the data transfer to the client. So this is symmetric because only one have a key and the same key they are using both. So real world HTTPS uses asymmetric to establish secure connection, then switches to symmetric for speed. And the TLS handshake equal to asymmetric and data equal to symmetric. So HTTPS uses both. They uses asymmetric to establish a secure connection. Then suddenly they switch on the symmetric. Then they switch on the symmetric for speed. So in the handshake, the RSA is involved, and in the data transfer, AES is involved. So real world system use both, not just one. All right. So the next question we have: how do you stay updated on new threats and vulnerabilities? So cybersecurity changes daily. If you stop learning, you are outdated in 6 months. So this is shows continuous learning. So number one, intelligence feed. You can subscribe to threat intel feeds like Sodan, abuse.ch, Alien Vault, and some threat reports like FireEye, CrowdStrike, etc. And the vulnerability database. So monitor CVE feeds, NBD, some vendor advisories like Tenable, Qualys, etc. And the communities, so Reddit, R Security, Twitter Security Fox, Security Affair blog, and then CERT and training, so SANS, eLearn Security, Hack the Box Academy, Try, Hack Me, and my YouTube channel InfoSec Pandey for training and work specific. So you can attend the vendor webinars, read your tool threat research like Splunk, etc. So there are a lot of sources available like CB, NBD, threat reports, Twitter, which is formerly known as X, and Hack the Box, Try Hack Me are very popular one. Hack the Box, Try Hack Me. So they provide some labs and all. So don't just read, you need to test it. And also, my favorite blogs are Bleeping Computer, and Hacker News. So these are my favorite. These are my favorite. Bleeping Computer and Hacker News. So mention a specific resource you actually follow. So this shows genuine interest beyond some job requirements. So I also follow the seaside advisories and our organization in healthcare sector, healthcare. So I get report Isaac. So don't just read it, you need to test it. So like if any new vulnerability occurs, you can try in lab. So my company has provided me access to the immersive labs. So it also provide a lot of complex labs and hands-on experience. And learning equal to reading plus doing. It's not like learning equal to only the reading. So learning equal to read plus do. So this is the learning. All right, question 23. What is a DDoS attack and how do you detect and mitigate? So DDoS attack are distributed denial of service. So attacker flood target with traffic on many sources, making service unavailable. So suppose your website suddenly goes down, but the servers are fine. What is happening? So this could be a sign of DDoS. So DDoS equal to traffic flood. So suppose there is a server and there are multiple attackers available. So they going to target the server, going to target that server with the multiple IPs. Multiple IPs. So how many type of DDoS attacks are available? So volumetric, like UDP flood, DNS amplification. So this is where the bandwidth will be overwhelmed, and the protocol based DDoS brings sync flood, ping of depth, like exploit protocol weakness, and the application based DDoS carries the HTTP flood, slow reuse. So this is target the web application directly. So how you can detect it? So spike in the traffic from many IP to a single target. So if you see a traffic spike, and then high packet loss, service timeout. So same pattern request. Then unusual traffic pattern, all same size packets like multiple IPs. So this is how we can detect the DDoS and mitigations. So we can do the rate limiting, traffic shaping, block the IP ranges, and use the Cloudflare or Akamai. So these are the mitigation techniques. So you don't fix DDoS, you observe or deflect it. All right, next question we have, explain privilege escalation and why should L2 analyst care about it. So attacker logs in as a user, but they become admin. So suppose attacker got access to one system and then he move on another system using lateral movement. Then he try to compromise the admin credential and get access to the admin account. So that's the game over. So privilege escalation equal to attackers gains higher access like user admin or low privilege admin to domain admin. So this is what the privilege escalation is. And what are the common techniques he follow? So the vertical and horizontal technique he can follow. So the low privilege user become admin on the same system. Suppose there is a system, there's a normal user, and he go vertically and get the admin rights on the same systems. And for the horizontal one, access other users data at the same privilege level. So this is how the privilege escalation happens and why L2 analysts care about it. So early detection is stop lateral movement, and it is often a chaining attack. So they are going to compromise the low privilege account, then going to escalate and move side away to the critical systems, like I explained here. Attacker. This is your crown jewel. So user become admin and then domain admin. So what are the practical like detections? So like usual process spawning from unexpected user launching a command as a system, or running a mimic ads, or dumping credentials, or escalating access, token impersonation pattern, sudo run as abuse on the Linux machine. So these are the detection techniques. And privilege escalation equal to turning a small breach into full compromise. Privilege escalation equal to turning a small breach into full compromise. All right, final question we have. What question do you have for us? So this is your turn. You can ask thoughtful questions. And most candidates fail here because they say no questions. So you should ask, what is your alert volume, top incident type, what SIEMs you're using, how many team size you have, etc. So like what your alert volume is, how many analysts on your team, what are the top incident type you see in your organizations, how do you balance alert response with threat intel or threat hunting, what is your current SIEM platform, any plan to upgrade it, how does your team handle on call rotation, what's the culture like, how do you handle mistakes and all. So these are the smart questions, and some examples are, how do you balance alert fatigue versus threat hunting. So that's very smart question. And the pro tip is, asking questions shows you are genuinely interested and thinking critically, and employees respect candidates who ask good and logical questions. So good question equal to senior mindset, right? All right, that's all for this video. What we covered today is just one layer of how real SOC L2 analysts think, because in actual environments, attacks are messy, hidden, and don't follow textbook steps. So in the next video, I will break down a real world attack and show you how to connect alert into full investigation story. So if you are serious about building real cybersecurity skill and not just theory, please subscribe my channel, drop your thoughts and suggestions in the comments. I read them out. All right.